Many people try to guess when the end of the world will happen. I remember when I was in college seminary at Loyola, our biblical professor got this long paper from some guy telling him that he found the date of the end of the world in the scriptures by somehow reading through the book of Revelation and giving each letter a number and adding that number and dividing by 3 or what, I don't know what he did. But it was just ridiculous. Jesus couldn't be more clear that no one knows the date but God the Father. And so we have this kind of impatient mentality where we just need to know all this information. I need to know everything as soon as I can, this like instant gratification. It all kind of comes together. I mean, we see it especially in this time of year where we had Christmas music just days after Halloween on the radio, and I see on Instagram and Snapchat everybody putting their trees up, and that's fine, but Thanksgiving hasn't happened yet. So it's just as we need everything and we want it, and it's good. Like, I love Christmas lights. I was driving last night and seeing people with their lights up. It's beautiful. But this impatientness has been present in humanity since the beginning. So even now, people in our gospel, everyone's asking Jesus, well, when's the end of the world? Like, just tell us the date so we can be ready. And so it's not a new thing. It's always been part of humanity since the fall, right? But now we have to ask the real hard question, not necessarily when will the world end. I'm sure we're all going to meet our Maker before everything goes up, right? But rather, the really hard question is, how do I become one of the elect? And so Jesus says that the elect will come from the four winds, from the end of the earth to the end of the sky. So obviously the elect are the angels and saints in heaven. That's where we want to be, friends. It doesn't matter when the world is going to end or when our own mortality will find its expiration date. That really doesn't matter. What matters is, where do we go from here? The end goal of life needs to be heaven. Because if that's not where we're aiming for, then I don't know where you're aiming, but don't aim there. Because heaven is where it's at. So how do we get to heaven? Well, it's not easy. Jesus didn't say, "Come to me, all you who want the easy life, and I will give it to you." Rather, Jesus warns us about taking up our cross and following him, and that when we feel that those burdens, to give them over to him. And so what we have to do sounds easy, but it's not. It starts with daily prayer. It goes to doing the works of mercy. And it's all-encompassing in receiving the sacraments. Those are the 3 things we have to do. It's really that easy, although it's not, but anyway. So daily prayer. We have to pray every day. We have to be in communication with the one who we want to spend eternity with. If we're not in communication with God, then we won't be able to discern how the Spirit, the Holy Spirit that is moving in our life. It's through our daily prayer with God the Father that we're able to know what God wills for us. That's how we make those good decisions that we've been learning about since grammar school. That's how we know what community we need to be involved with, the friends that we want to keep. It's through discerning with God in prayer and asking him what is your will and what is not your will. And it's through that discernment process and our daily prayer, and I do mean daily, folks, that we come to see what works of mercy God is asking us to accomplish. All of us have different vocations. Some of us are priests, many of you are married, some of you are in the single life, some of you are students and children, and all these different vocations that God has called us to. And so the works of mercy that we're being asked to accomplish look very different given our states in life and the vocations we have. And so we have to discern in our daily prayer, how is God calling me to die to myself so that I can live for others? That's what the cross is. That's love. We're supposed to be Jesus in the world today. Jesus had a daily prayer life. He talked to his Father every day, and he discerned where his Father was calling him to bring the Father's love into the world, and ultimately ended it with the cross. Well, we're all not called to be martyrs, and hopefully none of us will come to that. As beautiful as martyrdom is, I don't need to be tortured and killed for my faith. I'm okay. But we are all called to die to ourselves. Yesterday, I went with some of our youth group. We went to the Mission of Our Lady of the Angels, and we distributed food to over 100 poor families so that they would have a Thanksgiving meal. We gave them turkeys and chickens and vegetables and all these things. And it was a dying to self. And many of our students, they missed a practice, or they missed time with their friends, or they sacrificed to help someone else. That was a work of mercy that they discerned God was calling them to accomplish. That comes out of prayer, daily prayer. Ultimately, it all ends with receiving the sacraments. Because it's hard to have a daily prayer life, and it's hard to die to ourselves so we could live for others if we don't humble ourselves in receiving the sacraments. And receiving the sacraments takes great humility, because it goes against the main motto of our society today, that I can do it all by myself, that I'm an individual. It's all me. I don't need anyone else's help. I'm weak if I need someone else to help me. That's the biggest lie the devil wants us to believe, next to I'm unlovable. After I'm unlovable, it comes that I can do it all by myself. And that's just a bunch of horse hockey. We need Jesus. We need each other. We need our families. We need our spouses. We need our friends. We need our parents, our siblings. We were made to be in community. And we need that community to build us up. Most importantly, we need the Lord. And we receive Jesus in the sacraments. That's where he becomes the most visible, is in those 7 sacraments that he left us. Most notably in the Eucharist and in reconciliation. In the Eucharist, we very intimately and uniquely unite ourselves to God by receiving him, allowing him to literally enter our body so that we can become who we receive. That takes great humility. What takes greater humility is going to the sacrament of reconciliation and naming and claiming out loud those things in our life that we need to work on, the darkness in our life that we need to reject, so that we can reorient ourselves to the center, who is Jesus, God, love. And so, friends, again, this isn't easy. It's three nice steps that I could break it down to: daily prayer, works of mercy, and receiving the sacraments. But it is hard. And that's why we can't do it alone. And that's also why we shouldn't waste our time with useless stuff like, when will the world end? Or, oh my Lord, I think it's going to end tomorrow because of all of these things that the news tells me. Like, don't worry about it. We've already died the death that matters in baptism. Who cares what comes tomorrow? But if we don't do these 3 things and put Jesus at the center of our life, it doesn't matter. All that matters is heaven. And this is how we get to heaven.